Taurus, happy belated birthday. I hope you're all doing well. I apologize. I'm hitting record and I'm not quite prepared for what's in store because I had my view here all set up, but then I realized I was not in video mode. I have an iPhone. I don't know if that makes sense to people who don't, but it looked perfect, and now, well, here we are. This is what we're doing. Period. So, Taurus, I recently did a video for you and all the other signs, the Beltane message readings, and I started with you because it's your birthday season, or it was, but I wasn't really satisfied with your reading. I felt like you got cheated, and that's not something I'd really ever want to do to anyone, let alone a Taurus, right? So we're redoing it. To recap, though, in the Beltane message, we were talking about this card, which is hand fasting, card number 17. This card's about like unity, partnerships, coming together with other people. So, I mean, it could be lovely, but there was also this message about, maybe not trusting other people, wanting to do everything by yourself, not accepting help, stuff like that. I mean, that's fine and good, and maybe some people need that message. Who am I to say, right? But it felt a little shallow to me, I guess, and I mean, I don't know. I prefer a deeper reading. Not to knock anybody who needs that advice. Sometimes we do. I mean, I always do, to be honest with you. Like, I'm the last person who really wants to sit here and tell you to trust other people or to not do everything yourself, because that's definitely like my MO. So I totally get it. But so that was kind of your summary of your message we got in the Beltane readings. And you can go back and watch that, of course, if you'd like. But I wanted to run through that really quick with you as a reminder. So I'm kind of just going where the energy flows, and I do think this is kind of like a jump off from that reading. So let me just dive in and tell you what I got. So first, I was struggling with, I had the song, okay, and lover or hater, I happen to be very partial to Taylor Swift. She's not my normal genre per se, however, I love music, period. So I had the song, The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, in my head, right? I'm trying to focus on you in your energy and get some sort of message, right? And that was like all I could hear. It was a little maddening, to be honest. So I was trying to figure out, like, if it was just like, stuck in my head, or if it was actually for you. And my conclusion is that I think it's for you. And I'll tell you why. The part, let me get out my phone so that I can read this to you. The part that was in my head was actually the very end. Okay, so that's, I guess, where it first becomes interesting. The end of the song was replaying over and over, right? Bear with me, I have almost 300 tabs open on my phone, and I have to find where yours are, and for some reason I'm not finding it. I wanted to read the lyrics. I have another song to read to you in a moment, so let me go to the bottom. Sorry. I'm so much more organized than I normally am, and of course it doesn't seem like it. Okay, So let me read the lyric that was going over and over in my head. And it was, and in plain sight you hid, but you are what you did, and I'll never forget, and I'll forget you, but I'll never forgive the smallest man who ever lived. Okay? So that part was just playing over and over, and finally I surrendered, and I was like, okay, let's pick this apart and try to figure out what the message is here for Taurus. And as usual, and I know some people hate this and some readers hate this too, but I firmly believe that who I am, right, is part of the channel from which your messages come, okay? So one of the angles I considered was that this was supposed to come through like my filter. And what I mean by that is that when I first heard this song, it immediately reminded me of someone personal in my life, right? And as soon as I started flowing with that theory, like it felt right. So I kind of ran through like what I would say to you, how would I explain that to you? Right? That was kind of like rehearsing, right? So let me just give you like the summary. So this person that song reminds me of, and allegedly that song is supposed to be about Matt Healy from the 1975, which is a band you may or may not know. If you know Taylor Swift, I'm sure you know who he is and that she dated him. Anyway, so I think that's interesting because the person that song reminds me of is one of the worst people that I've ever encountered in my life. I actually have compared this person to meeting the like literal devil, like or a demon, or just period being someone who's evil, right? And oddly enough, it's someone I also just briefly dated. And so that's that. So yeah, like this person, I mean, he's just a really bad person, you know, like a liar, a schemer, an abuser. I mean, I don't even, basically, one of the reasons I stopped, you know, even like thinking about this person at all, was because I learned of like things that he had put other women through. So, and I mean, I don't know, like I have a big problem, like I'm pretty good at standing up for myself, but you put me in a position to stand up for someone else, and yeah, I'm there, like I'm ready for that fight. But anyway, so I considered that that's probably what's going on there and what I'm supposed to talk about, and zooming out a little bit, so my feeling is that you encountered someone like that, right? And maybe this is the obstacle, understandably, maybe that's the obstacle here that we're talking about with your ability to like trust other people and lean on anyone else. Certainly, like, you know, it's kind of a no-brainer that when we are disappointed, when we're traumatized, when we learn that we can't really rely on other people, we stop, right? We become hyper-independent and all these things. And I don't necessarily, God, sorry, the phone fell on my sage and now the sage made a mess. Anyway, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. However, it can be an obstacle in relationships, right, with other people. And I don't necessarily, I'll be honest, I don't necessarily have any advice for you on that, because it's just something that requires work on yourself, and it requires trusting your own intuition, and things like this. So, like I said, I did a little rehearsal of how I would briefly explain to you my little, sorry, I just heard a scary noise. My little theory of why that song was just playing over and over. And when I, like, sort of was finished with that and was contemplating a little bit more, I immediately got, oh, nope, wrong tab, sorry. I immediately got this other song in my head. And, where is it? It's AFI, A Fire Inside. It's a band, and the song is called Silver and Cold. Okay, it is off of their album Sing the Sorrow, which is standing out to me, so I thought I'd just tell you that. Okay, so basically what came into my head was the chorus, which if you listen to it, it's kind of like it gives you a sense of like victory or like an accomplishment, and I felt like that was kind of like my cue, like, okay, so we're on the right track. So the chorus is your sins into me, oh my beautiful one, your sins into me. As a rapturous voice escapes, I will tremble a prayer, and I'll beg for forgiveness. Your sins into me, oh my beautiful one. Okay. I mean, I love AFI, and I love that song. So, allegedly, this song is supposed to be about, like, accepting another person's sins and kind of, like, taking on their sins and, like, their burdens. And sort of like a gesture of, like, unconditional love, right? And I don't know if this is, like, giving you advice to yourself or something about you and another person. And I don't know, to be honest with you, how much I want to touch it. Because I don't really want to lead you astray, right? We're not even into the reading yet. We're already like 13 minutes in or something. And another thing I thought was really interesting is when I heard that part about your sins into me, I bounced back, and this is how I know they go together and that I got it right, because I don't always get it right. I'm really not good at deciphering, like, metaphors and reading between the lines and all these things. I'm not too into it, to be honest with you. I have an Aries Mercury, so I like things to be, like, pretty straightforward. Oh my gosh, where is the lyric in this song? I could probably just say it to you from memory, but I'd rather read it. So she says, Taylor Swift, in the song that we already talked about, she says, I would have died, I can't find it. She says, I would have died for your sins. Instead, I just died inside. All right. So basically, if we break that down, on the one side, we have, like, unrequited love, right? And that's what that sounds like to me. If we're saying that taking on somebody else's sins and, you know, their baggage and all, being willing to unpack with them and, you know, to accept them for who they are, if we say that that's unconditional love, then we can look at what she's saying, right? And she's saying that I would have died for your sins, but instead I just died inside because you deserve prison, but you won't get time. That's the next lyric. So I mean, he's a really bad person, whatever, and, you know, but she was willing to accept it and take that on. But whatever happened, I don't know the story. But, so it didn't work out, right? And there's something there for you to consider. And I guess the last thing that I would say about that is to let that guide you in being able to see when unconditional love is being offered to you and when you are actually offering it to someone else. Because, you know, for better or worse, that is how it feels, right? I'm sure most of you know. Like, you don't care. And I mean, this is something, as silly as it is for me to say this, to kind of wrap myself out, but this is something I say to people all the time. Like when I first start dating someone or whatever, like, and maybe some of you have been here, so I'll just give you this scenario. You know, you meet somebody and whatever, they think they have, like, I don't know, skeletons, or they have baggage, or they have issues, or whatever it is, so it makes them feel insecure. So, you know, maybe they'll say something like, I don't know, you deserve better than me, and blah, 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 right? One thing I say routinely in those situations, and I mean it, is that I don't care who you have been, right? Like, I don't care about the person you've been in the past. I care about who you are now and who you want to be. And I don't know. I felt like I needed to tell you that for some reason. So, but that's how you feel. When you genuinely care about someone, when you genuinely have an open heart to someone, that is how you feel, right? Yes, who they are now matters, and yes, the past shaped them, but it doesn't really matter, right? Because the past also inevitably changes you and makes you into a different person than you were in the past when those things occurred, or when you did something bad or wrong, whatever the case may be, right? So I don't know, but these are things that we're talking about and dealing with, Taurus, and I don't know if this is like, you know, which side you're on, or maybe you're on both sides, but, you know, people don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect, and neither should anyone else, right? And then the other thing, last thing I want to say about that, and then I'll move on to the other messages. The other thing I wanted to add to that was that bad person in my life that I knew, even though, I mean, he was horrible, and it was horrible for me, he actually led me to some really great things, right? Like, he led me to other people, so many like realizations within myself, and a sense of like empowerment, because like I said, like when I find out someone's bullying or hurting another person, like I go into Hulk mode, and I, you know, my badass comes out, and that sort of fueled me in certain directions. And then it also led me to meeting another person who, at the end of that experience, would become the namesake of my business, my tarot business, and now my tarot channel. And that's Tryforce. And it's a little bit mean. It's a little bit, you know, I'm making fun of this person who was associated with the bad person. So I am making fun of him because he used to cry on the phone to me about how much he loved me and how he was going to try. He was going to try this, and he was going to try to do that, and he was going to try. I don't really even know what he was going to try. I don't even know what that meant anymore. I just know that it became a joke, right? And I believe in trying. So that's basically what it came down to, was that person and I were too different, right? Because I'm a trier. I am relentless. And all he could do was cry about how he wanted to try. So that's the story of my tarot channel. And once again, like I said, and not all of it, obviously not all of it, but a chunk of that came from this really bad person, from the smallest man who ever lived. He was fuel for that process. And I think the bottom line is that you can turn really shitty things into great things for yourself, you know, for your career, like internally, externally, whatever. Like, that's part of alchemy, is being able to take whatever someone throws at you and turn it into a benefit for yourself. And I mean, if you can master that, you can master life. Okay, so I have some cards wanting to pop out. I'm not going to take them because that was 3. But we're just going to pull a couple oracles from the Urban Crow, see what's going on, while I also tell you the other things I got, because, like I said, that song was stuck in my head. I didn't know at first if it was for you, so I asked for a dream instead, so that, you know, I could be in a different state of consciousness where that song wouldn't be playing. And I did get a dream, and I mean, I don't know, the only things like that really stood out were the date of January 3rd. I don't know if that's important to you, and or a Capricorn could be important. It could be a Capricorn born on January 3rd. I don't know, but that was what came through in the dream. And the color purple. I was actually going to do my nails a different color. But then the purple stood out. I don't know if you can actually see it because the lighting in here is really weird. But the purple stood out to me, and purple came through a couple other times. So purple's connected to your crown chakra. It's connected to spirituality, connecting with your higher self. All these things. So I'll just leave it at that, but, you know, I feel like that's being encouraged at this time for you to connect to yourself, your spirituality, things like this. Okay, yeah, illusion is at the bottom of the deck with grief. I do feel like there's a grieving, and I do feel like it could be that you've been grieving an anomaly that was an illusion, something like this, right? Like something that seemed really special, seemed good, but wasn't real. And that's kind of what I pick up from the Taylor Swift song. I feel so silly talking about that, but I mean, Taylor Swift is a badass, and she's actually, I think, pretty spiritual herself. Given some of the references she's made in various different songs. But yeah, that's kind of the whole premise behind that song, is that she's like, what the hell was this? You know, she's like, what does she say? Were you a sleeper cell spy? Did you sleep with a gun underneath our bed? All these different things, like basically saying, like, who the hell are you? Like, what the hell was that? And that's definitely the energy I'm feeling. Like, I mean, basically betrayal, I guess, right? Like, thinking you could trust somebody and finding out, like, that is not true. They are someone completely different than they portrayed themselves to be, or, you know, that you assumed them to be. And we all do that. I was just talking to, you know, probably my best friend. I was just talking to her about how I hate that about myself. You know, I have done this my whole life. Like, and this is a basic psychology, okay? It's basic psychology. But I fall for it, and I project things onto other people that I want to see, right? So, like, if I like somebody for whatever reason, they catch my eye, I then will project these other traits onto them. What is that noise, Belle? I thought it was you, but you're right here. Sorry, I thought my cat was making noise. Maybe it's the other cat. I do have two. But, it's kind of creeping me out a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, sometimes we project traits onto people that aren't actually there, because we see what we want to see, right? And I don't know, I mean, that's not the other person's fault as much as it might feel like it is. I'll get off that though. So anyway, we have release, anomaly, and scavenge. An illusion with grief underneath it. So, I mean, I basically just kind of feel like that sums it up. And I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm just going to pull cards in a second. So we have 24, 22, 39, 2, and 44. I do want to look at anomaly really quick, though, and scavenge. Okay, anomaly. I mean, I think it is. If you are contemplating an event within a relationship, you may find yourself questioning if someone's behavior, good or bad, serves as an indication of who they truly are, or if the situation was a rare event and out of character. Sometimes we just need to have one small encounter, an outlier, to understand a greater potential or to be able to rule out an absolute. I do feel like that's a big part of the dilemma. I feel like a lot of you maybe, like, the scenario that's coming to mind is like meeting someone who reminds you of the smallest man who ever lived, right? Who reminds you of this really bad, horrible fucking person. And you just want to avoid them like the plague. But, like, something is, like, there's uncertainty there or something, right? Like, you don't know if you're perceiving correctly, or if it's just like a reaction because they remind you of that person. I totally get it. But if that's the case, I think that the message is basically to release those preconceived notions, release the trauma and the trigger associated with this past person, and to kind of be open, right, to someone new. I do think that was the original message with the hand fasting card that came out for you, was that to try to have an open heart. And sometimes we can't. Sometimes we're not ready. I mean, period. And there's nothing you can really do to speed it up. Your heart is not open. So all you can really do is tell that person who wants your heart to be open that they can't have it. And if they don't like it, well, then too bad, right? Too bad. Because once again, someone you truly connect with, someone who's, if it's really that deep, they're going to stick around. They're going to take it on. And they're not going to care. So that's that. You know, you can't lose something that's meant for you. You can't. Not by being honest, right? Okay, and then this card, wrong way, dummy. Okay, the scavenge card, I kind of want to look this over because I feel like, I mean, I get it, but what are we talking about here? Okay, so he's searching for, oh, you can't see that, can you? He's searching for anything, even the smallest crumb. Although insight may be gained and scavenging can promote brain development, the crow's attention is on an area that may not yield the greatest reward. Scavenge suggests that you may be settling for less because it is easy. Your attention may be on a situation that holds little promise, yet at the same time you're hoping to find some source of nourishment or value. While in between jobs or relationships, you might find that the scavenge card will appear more frequently as you jump around from one opportunity to another. Use this time to gather information and determine what you like, what you don't like, what you can and won't settle for. This card may also appear if you have been simply taking what you can get instead of directing your attention toward the steps that would lead to something more substantial. Okay, this echoes part of your original message for Beltane. In that message, there was something about you kind of being in like an echo chamber or a bubble and like maybe only wanting to associate, and it's totally normal. There's nothing wrong. It's completely normal reaction, especially if you've gotten burned by someone, right? To want to surround yourself with comfort people, with people who are like you, who you can understand easily and don't challenge you and don't disagree with you, right? These are safe spaces, quote unquote, right? But there was actually a challenge in that message for you to branch out and to kind of push yourself to give people a chance who maybe are not in your little bubble, your little echo chamber. And I mean, that's why, right? Because when you're stuck in those places, you really just go around in circles. You don't necessarily like branch out or grow in another direction, right? You just kind of repeat each other's sentiments. So there's that part of the message, but also the part about finding more information. If you're uncertain about someone and you don't know if you can trust them and you don't know if you can open your heart to them, etc., just get more information. Take the time. And once again, no one who is worth your time is going to protest that. They're gonna be along for the ride. Sorry, I'm moving myself around. They're gonna be along for the ride, and they're going to understand because they are going to value you as a person and for who you are, not just as like a placeholder or, you know, someone who sees your value is not gonna just be like, oh, well, I don't have time for that. I'm gonna move on to the next. Because there is no next, right? Because you are yourself valuable and important and special. So, I mean, that in itself is a way to gather information by just telling someone like, look, I'm not ready right now, I need more time. And their reaction will give you valuable information about who they are. I feel like I've already kind of done a whole reading for you, Taurus. And I'm happy that it did go a little bit deeper. What deck? I gotta choose. I feel like this one, even though it was temperamental for me yesterday. Can we get some? No, too many. Can we get some extra messages, please, for Taurus? I did see the Three of Wands and the Strength card, which, I mean, they both can talk about patience, being willing to wait. Absolutely. I feel like that's a challenge for you and or someone else that you're dealing with at this time. Like, just waiting until you can trust someone again, knowing that if there's a specific situation where you don't know, I feel like this is a green light telling you, like, look, you can. Just, you know, wait around for more evidence, get more information, give someone a second chance. And I don't normally say that. I'm not a big fan of that idea. But sometimes it is an anomaly, and you just caught somebody in a bad day or a bad situation at a bad time in their life. And you do need to be understanding, right? The devil. See? There's that freaking devil. Dude, I'm not kidding. Some of you, I feel like, have dealt with exactly the type of person that I'm talking about. Just someone who literally, like, has devil vibes. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, my house, I had like an infestation, a fly infestation. And now I don't know if that's like, is that something demonic? I mean, it seems like it. Like, flies are disgusting creatures. But, like, I let this person in my house, and it got infested with flies, like, within a couple days. And just crazy. It was definitely, like, a very spiritually traumatic experience. I basically had to do an energetic exorcism on myself. So, I mean, I'm not, I might be laughing, but it's not a laughing matter. Like, I really mean that. 7 of Cups, 8 of Pentacles, the Emperor. Well, first of all, if you know somebody like the person I'm describing, and they try to come in and try to weave a web of lies, if they try to come in and, like, rebuild their reputation with you, things like this, then I have to stand by disagreeing with giving that person a second chance. I'm only saying give a second chance to someone if they got off on the wrong foot with you and you're unsure, right? If you have proof, if you've seen firsthand that this is a toxic person, then do not follow that second chance option, period. But for the rest of you, I feel like this is saying exactly what I already said, right? You might be confused. You might not know, right? If you're meeting somebody new or whatever, and something weird maybe triggered you, you're not sure if this devil that you encountered before is hiding in one of these cups, right? Like, you don't know if that's what you're going to get again. It's completely understandable to feel that way. But 8 of Pentacles, I feel like this is focus on the evidence. Like I already said, take it day by day. Look at how much work they put in. Keep focused on what the results are, like, how do I explain this? Keep track of their reactions to things, like I already said. And really, focus on taking it step by step, day by day. And you're going to get your answer. And the Emperor, I feel like, bottom line, I feel like if you are dealing with someone who you feel a little conflicted about, who sets off your radar a little bit for some reason, and it's because it reminds you of somebody you've dealt with in the past, I think it's a trauma response. I don't think it's real. I think it's an illusion. I think it's based on residual grief, something that you need to release, because I think that this person is actually Emperor Emperor energy. I think they're actually like an evolved person. I mean, and could be, if this is a romantic context, could be your counterpart, like it could be somebody that's been sent to you, but you're not seeing it, or things are a little bit cloudy because, you're still hung up on something that happened in the past. And that's understandable, but that's why we do the work, right? That's why we dive into these things, and we play the ending over and over in our head until it makes sense enough, or until we figure out how we can make it make sense so that we can put it to rest. And then we release that. And we don't take it on. Like, you don't extend unconditional love to a garbage person, right? An evil, bad person. You don't give them unconditional love. So don't take on their behavior and try to blame yourself for it. Does that make sense? Because they're, what they choose to do, if they choose to hurt someone, if they choose to be that person, whatever it is that they did, that is their choice. That is their doing. It's their karma. It's who they are. And it has nothing to do with you. You were just there. You were just the next victim of their fucking disaster, right? So don't take that on as if you did something. You were just at the wrong place at the right time, or the wrong time, whatever, for this person to take advantage of it. So don't blame yourself. If anything, these people like to reach out of their league and pull people down to their level because it makes them feel more powerful to destroy someone who's better than them, right? Who's healed, who's happy, who's successful, because they're not, right? So don't ever try to blame yourself for someone else's choices. You just take care of yourself, right? You just show yourself compassion and healing, because that's what you deserve. And you make it into whatever you need to make it into to remedy the situation on your terms. And you don't worry about them. Or how, you don't worry about how it looks. Don't worry about what they think. Who cares? Because it really doesn't matter. So, yeah, Taurus, if that's the situation, if you are confused or hesitant, you don't have to listen to me or anybody telling you, like, it's fine, trust them. No, believe the evidence. Trust yourself. Believe the evidence. Give it time. And, the right people they're going to wait. They're going to understand that. So, good luck, Taurus. I love you guys so much. I hope you had a good birthday season, and I hope this helps you. I will see you next time.